Hello friends, and welcome to our midweek update for the very first day in October 2025. Hope you're doing well. A couple of things I want you to know, and then we're going to jump in to a new reading plan between now and the end of the year of reading the Minor Prophets. I know you're excited about that, but just hang on one more minute. A few things I want you to know. First of all, if you are receiving this video by email each week, and we send this midweek update out to all of our folks on our distribution list and our membership, you'll notice on this week's email that there's a shareable reel that we've attached to the body of the email. So our video team each week takes a 30-second or 1-minute clip for the message and posts it to social media, and we've embedded it in the email. If you want to share it and put that content out there, I'd encourage you to watch it, but then also share it as a way of sharing a positive message, sharing a bit of truth, but also sharing just a little bit about First Baptist Tulsa and what God is doing here. So I invite you to share that, and you'll see that embedded in your email each week. Okay, a few things coming up I want you to know about. We have been talking about our counseling ministry here in recent days. Our church is making available up to 10 free sessions of counseling for those who need it in our church community and our larger community. We now have about 20 available trained counselors, and we want to serve you. So if you have need of that, just go to our website, look at the counseling ministry link, and all the information will be on there as well. Also tonight, October 1st, as a part of our midweek on campus, Mike Hart, our missions pastor, will be hosting a one-off session called Before You Go. And if you have been concerned before about going on a mission trip, you have some questions, maybe some misconceptions, this will be a 1-hour time where you can ask any question you want. Mike will also share, here's what it looks like, here's what you need to go on a mission trip, here's what you can expect, both traveling nationally and internationally. And I'd invite you to be a part of that one-time session tonight. And then also mission related, you'll start hearing more about this in the coming month or so, but our missions goal for this year is $344,000. Now we fund missionaries around the world through that one-time offering. All that money stays here, but the first $44,000 of that, note it's $344,000, the first $44,000 goes to Compassion International, and we will be helping plant a church in Indonesia through the ministry of Compassion this year. So start now and thinking about how you will give. In fact, you can give mission gifts in honor of somebody as a Christmas gift. Think of some creative ways that you can honor your friends and family, but also do the work of the gospel. Okay, so I'm inviting you the next 12 weeks between now and the end of the year to read through the 12 minor prophets in the Older Testament. It's those last 12 books of the Old Testament. Begins with Hosea, ends with Malachi. What I've learned in my study is that most books of the Bible in the Hebrew Scripture would be in a scroll, and so you'd have the book of Deuteronomy all in one scroll. Well, these minor prophets would typically be written on one scroll, meaning that they are meant to be read together. They're meant to be read as an entire unit. Their messages overlap and link up in some very interesting ways. Also, the number 12 is important, and it's a little bit of a symbolic number. 12 is the number of God's people. 12 tribes of Israel, 12 disciples. And so you have here the message of God to his people. Now, there's a lot of things that make the minor prophets difficult to understand. There's some language barriers. There's some cultural issues afoot. But more than anything else, it's probably the history around the minor prophets. We don't even have sometimes a vague sense of where they fit in history, who are they talking to, and what's afoot at this particular moment. So we are making available very soon a bit of a resource video. It's going to be less than 5 minutes, just to say, here's what's happening at this point in history. And the reason I'm doing a separate video for that is I hope you can use it during the midweek update. If you have a question, you can go to that resource. But also, I'll be teaching through the minor prophets on Sunday morning. And so instead of every Sunday morning me stopping and saying, okay, here's the history, I can give a few keywords, and with that video, you'll be able to plug it in to its appropriate place in history. So let's start with Hosea. This is a little bit of a long book here to begin with, but you can do this. I'm going to give you a shortcut if you don't want to read the entire book, but I would encourage you to do that. So Hosea sets the tone really for the entire corpus of the minor prophets. He's talking to the northern kingdom. That'll make more sense after we have a little resource video. He's talking to Israel, and the big bully on the block at this point in history is Assyria. They were the world power. They were breathing down Israel's neck. So you can take the whole book of Hosea and divide it up into two parts. Chapters 1 through 3. Here's what happens, and if you know Hosea, it's probably because of this. God instructs him to marry a prostitute. God commands Hosea to marry an unfaithful woman. And what that is that is a lived parable, because God is saying, I am wed to you, Israel. We are connected, and you are nothing but unfaithful. So it's this lived parable of Hosea being connected with an unfaithful bride as God is connected with an unfaithful people called Israel. So that's chapters 1 through 3. Chapters 4 through 14 really is a whole set of prophetic speech. Here's how you've been unfaithful. Here's my ask for you to return. Now, I would encourage you to read the whole book, but if you only read the first 3 chapters, you will get the message of Hosea. And here's the key point. Hosea is about an undeserved love for an unfaithful other. I'm borrowing the words of a theologian, but I like the way he states that, and you have to think about it. It's an undeserved love for an unfaithful other. So Hosea does marry a prostitute. She sleeps around, as prostitutes are prone to do, and God says, go back and show your love to your wife again. It's the undeserved love for an unfaithful other. And God is doing the same thing with his people. He's seeking them out, saying, even though you don't deserve my love, I want you to come back to me. So there are a couple of very important passages in Hosea that I would encourage you to look out for. One is Hosea 11:1, out of Egypt I called my son. And this would be a prophetic passage. In fact, during Advent, we'll deal with this. It shows up in Matthew 2:15. This is how Jesus kind of re-embodies the history of Israel. And this is one of the prophecies that the Messiah would fulfill. And of course, Jesus fled to Egypt after the visit of the Magi, running from Herod. And as he comes back, here is God's people returning to a promised land and living in obedience to him. And Jesus embodied that. So Hosea 11:1. But for my money, one of the most important and moving passages is Hosea 6. 1 through 3. It says, and I'll give the opening line here, come, let us return to the Lord. And it's that response. If we are the recipients of this undeserved love, how do we respond? Well, we should respond with faithful love. One more thing about the minor prophets, and then I'm going to turn you loose on Hosea this week. The minor prophets offer us a different way of looking at history. Instead of history just being neutral, instead of history just being random, history is subject to the purposes of God. And God will use events in history to draw us back to himself. So enjoy reading Hosea. Even if you don't understand everything, that's okay. I believe the more we read Scripture, every time we read through it, it comes a little bit better into focus. And so even if you've never read Hosea before, dive in, read the whole thing. And I'm praying that God will bless your reading this week. I love you. Love serving as your pastor. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.